Hi and welcome to the Active Code podcast, brought to you by Aspire Active Partnerships. I'm Paul Griffiths and joining me each week on the pod is Luke Johnson.
Aspire Active Partnerships is a community of like-minded business leaders who all believe that collaboration in the sports coaching and children's activity sector is essential for success. We've proven that working in collaboration does benefit business growth and essentially helps more children be more active more often.
To combat physical inactivity, we need organisations that are performing at their very best. Organisations will only operate to high standards if they are led well. So, if we can focus on developing high quality leaders throughout an organisation, not just at the top, customers will experience higher quality services, which means heightened enjoyment levels and increased levels of physical activity. And if we do this at an early age, we know that we can build the foundations for a more active, happier and healthier life. The Active Code investigates what it really takes to be a successful leader and how organisations can combat physical inactivity.
We won't be alone through this journey. We are joined by business owners and experts from our sector, as well as inspirational people from outside our industry. We'll understand the importance of physical activity to our guests, reflect on leadership experiences, and gain thought-provoking insights on how we can crack the Active Code and get more children more active more often. If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Our guest for this episode is Tess Howard, and since recording the episode, Tess has gone on to extraordinary heights in her hockey career, including scoring a winning goal against Australia in the gold medal match of the 22 Commonwealth Games. In addition to Tess's Commonwealth successes, she's also a public speaker, guest writer, and podcast host. During the episode, Tess shares her experience of representing her country from a young age, juggling her university studies with playing sport, her incredible story of overcoming a 12-month intensive rehabilitation following an ACL rupture that led to missing the Tokyo Olympics, and her drive to break down the barriers for girls and women taking part in sport and physical activity.
Great, Tess, welcome to the Active Code podcast. Let's start with you sharing with our listeners a background on who you are, please.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on the podcast. My name's Tess Howard, and I am a full-time professional hockey player for Great Britain and England. Been in the squad for 4 years. I joined it when I was 19, fresh out of first year university. And so I've split my degree at Durham University over the last 5 years so that I can do it alongside playing professionally. But that is who I am.
Brilliant. And with regards to your studying, like juggling an international hockey career with studies and little bits of work here and there, that must be pretty tough.
Yeah, it's always been something that I've done since I was sort of aged 13, 14, and I've always wanted to make sure that my academics weren't compromised because of my athletics, and the same vice versa. I've always found that passions complement each other, and I've been lucky to find that my geography degree at Durham has helped me sort of escape from hockey, but also it's quite intertwined as well. So it's never felt like a chore. I've loved my degree and I've loved playing hockey full time.
Tess, where did it all start? So as a young girl, where did that activity start and the sporting background? If you could share that journey with our listeners, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I actually didn't play hockey until I was 11. So I started my sporting journey by following my older brother to the rugby club down the road at Cambridge. And my dad was a coach there for my brother's team. And so I just went along and just thought myself one of the lads, really, tag rugby. And then I also did judo and tennis and did cricket from a young age. Again, just following my older brother around, which probably to his disliking. But I just sort of felt like I fitted in really well there. So then that's sort of where it started. But then when I was 11, I had to stop playing rugby because girls weren't allowed to play rugby anymore. So then I switched to hockey. My mum took me to the Cambridge City Hockey Club, and the rest is history, really.
Tess, you mentioned a variety of sports, judo, tennis, cricket, rugby. Did that benefit you in terms of when you transitioned into hockey, playing a variety of sports?
Well, I think if you ask my teammates, they would say there is a lot of judo and rugby in my hockey style. I played last weekend against Germany, and it's my first goal back for the team, and it was on the floor to score. So I mean, yeah, I'm known for being able to, let's say, do floor work when playing hockey, but like diving, I've always been very comfortable. Being as strong as I needed to be, and I think rugby and judo gave me that from a very young age. And a judo roll is how if I get hit in hockey or whatever and I'm on the floor, I'll always somehow make it into a judo roll and get back straight up on my feet, like it's like ninja style. So I think it's helped me as well to prevent injuries, is having all of these different skill sets and not being afraid to take contact. So definitely.
And we spoke to a few guests about this and the importance of a multidisciplined approach, if you like, for children in the primary school years in particular. And a lot of parents struggle with that concept. I think in particular, if they have an enjoyment of football, just kind of stereotypically, it's football, like all year round. And going back many years now to my childhood, it was that kind of multi-sport approach, seasonal type approach thing it was important. And really the competitiveness starts at an earlier age now, which isn't a bad thing, but we've also got to make sure that parents and children are aware that actually it's great to try as many different sports and as many different activities as possible. And interestingly as well there, Tess, you mentioned you've got an older brother, so there's also that, I think it was the Talent Code, I think, is the book that really kind of delves a bit deeper on that and looks at how younger siblings always tend to have that little fight and edge because they've got that older brother or sister. Is that the case with you there, by the sound of it?
Yeah, you could definitely say that. I was always trying to compete with him. We used to play underwater judo. I think that kind of sums up our relationship, which only now do I realise was essentially you could drown each other underwater. But yeah, no, I also have a younger brother and he's 6 years younger than me, which means that when he was sort of growing up, I would always play with him. And so, he's very good at football. I am horrendous with my feet. So he's been trying to teach me football. So it's like throughout, older and younger brothers, it's nice to be able to have a mixture of sports. And it's probably made me very comfortable interacting with boys and girls in sport throughout.
Awesome, which is really, really important. Out of interest, so it's pretty obvious to those people that play sport, but the skills that you get, technical skills you get from participating and training and playing various sports. But if you were to look away from the sporting element of it and let's call them softer skills, what has sport given you over the years you've been playing from the softer skill side?
I mean, where to start? It's built my character from the ground up. It gave me confidence from an early age that I never would have experienced had I not been able to run around with a ball and a stick or I don't think I was particularly confident as a young child unless I was on the hockey pitch or on the rugby pitch. But as soon as there was a task to be done with teammates, my eyes just lit up. And my mum would always say to me, you get this bouncy feeling when you come back from playing sport. And it's the social interaction. It's how you communicate with others. I honestly think it's probably the easiest place to meet new people because and make friends because you're all doing a shared experience. And I think when I was very young, when I say very young, I mean like 13, 14, and I was starting to get quite good at hockey and was playing up in the age groups. I found it quite difficult at the start because I was playing with people who are much older than me and you have to instantly make friendships there to survive. And that was quite hard. But as I sort of realized that I didn't necessarily have to be friends, but I could be teammates, those are the skills that I've learned. So like relationship building it's been essential to my rise in hockey with whether that be coaches or teammates, the skill to communicate and encourage and, you know, constructive criticism on occasion, but mostly encourage each other is the most underrated thing. And if you think about business at the moment as well, like there's so much critique that goes on. I don't think there's ever enough like encouragement of each other. And that's, I would say, is one of my super strengths as a player is sort of that team relationship building.
Tess, many of us dream about playing for our countries or representing our country. What was it like to do that at the age of 19?
Well, it was a bit of a shock, can we say that? My story actually starts in the stands watching the London 2018 World Cup, Women's World Cup, Hockey World Cup. I was in the under-21s at the time, just finished first year uni. But, you know, despite being 19, I had like England flags on my face. I was like at every match, front row, just sort of sneaking in. Well, had tickets, but sneaking into the front row, trying to get as close to the action as possible. And I didn't want to be a senior athlete. So I didn't think it was really like a viable path. I didn't think that I wanted to be a full-time hockey player. And then I sat in the crowd and I watched England lose to Holland in the quarterfinal of the World Cup. And I just felt this insane wave of emotion come over me, and I suddenly realized that I wanted to play for England and play at a World Cup. And then it was 3 months later that I had my trials. And like I say, with playing with people who are older than you, everybody was, you know, a few years older than me at least, and I didn't know anyone because it just wasn't my age group. I hadn't met any of them before, but I'd seen them all play on TV. So first thing I did was go up to Holly Pernwebb, MBE, and go, "Hello, my name's Tess, and I'm trialing today. Like, shake hands." And I did that with all of my heroes on the day. And then we were playing hockey, and we were interacting, and I felt like I want to play with these people because they speak the same language of hockey. So why my debut was so special to me was because I had those waves of emotion and those waves of inspiration. I think if it had just come naturally and it just happened before I had felt that desire to play, I don't think it would have been as special. But it was only a month after my first trial that I was picked for my first tournament at the Champions Trophy in China, in a place called Changzhou, which is somewhere nobody really wants to go. But it was incredible. And my parents were there and they made the flight out. It was very special.
So yeah, really quick journey then from trial to playing for England. And competitive sport aside, do you manage to keep active in other ways apart from hockey?
Yeah, it's funny because when you become a professional athlete, suddenly everything is either gymming, running, or playing hockey. And as someone who loved to play tennis at school, loved to play touch rugby and cricket, etc., to have all of those sports taken away because there's just not enough time, or you have to be resting when you're not training, all of those different things make it very difficult to keep playing other sports, which is probably being one of the hardest things. But when I was in first year, I did manage to join the college tennis team and had a few matches in the summer, which was nice. So it's difficult because you almost have to become obsessed with hockey, and people would probably say that I am obsessed with it because that's what you have to do. I miss other sports.
Away from the sports side, Tess, are there opportunities for you just to be physically active? So can you get out on a bike, or go for a jog or a run, or simply a walk, just to kind of, you need to switch off, I guess, at times? It's
funny, yeah, because I used to always de-stress by doing some going for a run, or on the weekend it would be if I didn't have a hockey match, I could go and play another sport, or but since age 15, my weekends and evenings and summers have always been dominated by hockey fixtures, hockey training. And so, it's more like sometimes commuting, which is where you get like the cycle rides and stuff. But at the same time, like half of our training is hockey, but half of our training is also in the gym. And as someone who's just gone through ACL rehab, I haven't played hockey, or I hadn't played hockey in about 11 months. It was only in the final month that I started to play again. And so I had my one joy, which I thought was hockey, taken away. So I had to change. And what I decided to take up was boxing. And that was the greatest outlet, anger management, but also like exercise and different stimulus. So I'm always open to trying new things, but it is quite difficult when you are full-time hockey.
And you mentioned that injury there. Was that just prior to? Was it during lockdown and prior to the Tokyo Olympics? So were you like set to go?
Yeah, so it happened April 13th, which is ironic. Last year, it was not a Friday; it was a Tuesday. But yeah, so the team hadn't been selected, but it was made. I was in the team at the time, playing well, and if everything had gone as it was supposed to go, perhaps I probably should have been there. But that happened 100 days before the Olympics was due to start, and it's things like that sort of make me think that maybe some things happen for a reason. And when you go through grief, the only thing you can really say is that it's got meaning and it's gonna have a purpose in the end. So that's what I try to tell myself.
And how has that experience helped you moving forward, would you say?
Well, it's quite nice that we're having this podcast now because I'm officially back. So now I can almost reflect. But I don't think until the World Cup and the Commonwealth Games is over this summer will I truly reflect on what the year has been. When they called me up and told me that my MRI showed a full ACL rupture and then I needed reconstruction surgery, I just lost it, and I didn't know where I was going to go from there. I knew I was going to have support from England hockey, which has been unbelievable, but I just didn't know what was going to happen. I was so frightened, and every sort of step I have every month I have had to battle through different challenges, but it's the last 3 months that I have really started to fly with this rehab, because I started to believe in myself again. What happens with grief is you go through the different stages and you have to allow yourself to go through them and not judge yourself. And I think if I've learned one thing, it's that I have deep resilience from somewhere. I don't know where, but you find it in the toughest of times. And now I know whatever comes my way, I can always dig deep and find the inner strength that's needed. And before my injury, I didn't know I had that.
Does that come from wrestling your brother in the swimming pool, maybe?
Do you know, I do think it's everything roots and is stemmed from your childhood. And I used to do scouts at school. So that was another one of my hobbies, physical activity hobbies. And we used to do, orienteering, running around, and probably shouldn't say this, but my school, we did a scouts hell night. And that was essentially like where they put you through your paces to see, if you'll break. And I just would never break. They would say jump in the lake, I'd jump in the lake. Would say roll in the the mud, I would roll in the mud. By the way, this is like, it's character building, it's not like bullying. But from a young age, I just sort of always used to get on with things and I've had injuries before. I broke my hand in the semi-final of the Europeans in 2019, and I've had setbacks, but nothing of the grandeur of an ACL until now.
and all good, like going forwards, like medically fine, knees fine, fully confident, all fine, touch wood.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. They told me it would be 12 months. Some people rush back after 8 or 9 and then have significant injuries afterwards. And I said to them, look, I'm gonna join the bandwagon and just say 12 months, let's do it. And as soon as I had clocked my brain onto the fact that it was going to take a lot of time, I was just so diligent with everything that I did. And I have such pride in my quads now because they are so strong. And so yeah, I don't have any fear. And yeah, as my teammates can attest, I'm still the same, rolling around on the hockey pitch.
And during lockdown, Tess, you set up a great project called Free Solo Hockey to help more people access the sport. Do you want to share a bit more about that and the kind of impact you've seen on that project?
Yes, that's great. It's actually I started it with my little brother. It was we called them siblings do stuff basically, and I started putting them out videos during lockdown because I was bored. I'd finished my second year of uni and it was very sunny outside, and I wanted to keep playing hockey. And so I dragged my little brother into our garden and got him to throw tennis balls for me that I could dive for, or exercises like attaching a band to a tree and doing strength exercises, but making it quite fun and interactive. And yeah, we just got to sort of like one thing led to another, and suddenly people were really enjoying these videos in the hockey community. Like, it was lighthearted relief. I mean, one of the videos was me vacuuming around the house pretending to do hockey. So, it's very lighthearted. But then I realized that there are so many people who didn't have a garden or didn't have access to a little brother, and they needed some ways to stay active and to get through lockdown. So it's kind of morphed into breaking down pitch access barriers, which is the slogan really. I mean, there are many slogans like find your freedom as well, but the idea was that free solo climbing was essentially you can climb anywhere. I wanted free solo hockey. You can play hockey anywhere, because hockey is, got this tagline that is, private schools and astroturfs and very sort of, middle class. And I wanted to break that down because it's a wonderful game. All you really need is a stick and a ball, and you can practice your tricks anywhere. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And since then, I've just been posting videos of how I train in the car park, on the street, in the park, just to give kids ideas, really.
Is that something you're continuing to do?
Well, I haven't posted for a little while, but I'm going to blame my ACL on that one. But yeah, I definitely want to keep doing it. And I think the whole thing is, for me as well, is showing that girls can play hockey anywhere as well. Like, I think it's quite a big thing to see freestyle footballers. And my little brother loved Chris MD, and he was obsessed over how, this YouTuber would set up challenges in his garden and just kick footballs. And I also see freestyle women doing that, freestyle footballers doing that. And I wanted to sort of do that for hockey and show young girls in hockey that it's cool to, I mean, whether they think I'm cool or not is another story, but it's at least somebody's doing some freestyle hockey. And my team dragged a few of my teammates into it, and they were like, oh yeah, I don't know if I want to be in it, but then I sort of dragged them in, and they enjoy it.
Brilliant. It's well documented, Tess. There's a problem with sport participation dropout in girls, in particular during the secondary school years. What do you believe is preventing these young girls participating in physical activity and also competitive sport?
It's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking. There are multiple barriers to young girls facing sport, and if I hadn't have been obsessed with hockey, I know I would have been pressured by them. And a lot of the causes of girls dropping out in sport are because it's seen that girls don't belong in sport, and there are multiple barriers of why. But I really think it comes down to belonging and access and feeling like you can participate. The biggest factor that I am very passionate about is school sports uniform, sportswear. I did my dissertation on the impacts of gendered school sport uniform on the impact of girls playing sport and their experiences. And I found that 70% of women have seen girls drop out of sport specifically because of body image or sports kit concerns. And that stat, when I did my huge survey of 400 women, completely floored me, because now I knew that there was something tangible that we could do to help girls feel like they belong in sport, feel comfortable in sport. And I would come back to the reason, what is the ultimate purpose of us doing physical activity, doing PE, doing sport at school? And it's not all to look uniform or all to look the same. It's about participation, and it's about feeling free in yourself, enjoying it, de-stressing, the mental health benefits, everything. But when you get put into a rigid uniform that you feel uncomfortable in, that doesn't fit right, that you might feel, body conscious in. I know I did at school a lot. Or you get made to wear a gendered uniform and you're not really sure what your gender is at that time. You're made to wear a skirt when, you might want to wear shorts. Anyway, there are so many different reasons that people have, and they should just be allowed to have those reasons as long as they are able to participate. So in my opinion, that is the biggest place that we could improve, is lenient sportswear policies and designs.
Yeah, I was at the Include Summit, Tess, when I first heard you talk, and you were so passionate about it. I thought you spoke superbly at that summit about this topic, and it really kind of made me stop and really listen. As a dad to an 8-year-old girl in particular who loves being active and loves participating in sport, it's something that's never crossed my mind, and I think full credit to you for really breaking down the barriers and getting this on people's radars. It seems obvious, really. Now it's raised, and you've brought that point up. It seems obvious that why is this still happening? So, what are the next steps, and what are you doing? What are other people doing? Is there a movement starting, really? Because completely agree with you on this, and it just seems ludicrous that we're still stuck in this day and age where we've got a huge issue with dropout, and it's not just with girls, but there's a big issue with girls dropping out in sport in secondary years. So it seems like such a simple thing, doesn't it, that we can try and change, like flip people's mindset on. So what's going on with this project at the moment, in between obviously your hockey training and playing?
Well, it's something I'm hugely passionate about, and there are multiple different ways that we are trying to build the momentum. And so I think it's all about raising consciousness, raising awareness, and common sense, really, to the issues at stake. So one of the things that I'm doing is speaking to leading women in sport and men in sport, people who are on the UK Sport Trust, a UK Youth Sport Trust as well, and sharing with them this issue. I wrote an article for The Telegraph in September last year highlighting what impractical and hyperfeminized uniforms does to dropout rates at school, and why. And it's really important we understand why, because we're not just saying that girls want to wear whatever they want because they feel unconscious, feel self-conscious or whatever. It's a psychological trauma, which is what I said at the Include Summit, of not being able to feel like you belong in your own body. And so we bridge the gap between physical and psychological through clothing. So clothing is an identifier piece. It's how you feel you belong within a team. It's how you feel you belong in an environment. And it's the fundamental marker of identity in terms of gender, in terms of religion. So what we need is rigorous, inclusive sportswear policies and designs. And that's really what I'm trying to do. So I've set up an organization called inclusivesportswear.com, and it is going to have a inclusive sportswear charter, which is the guidelines for best practice of rigorous inclusive sportswear. And it's important that we say rigorous, because that means that we are ticking, the 10 top identity characteristics. That could be age, and age means, level of puberty development. It's disability. It's, goggles versus glasses when you're wearing, when you're playing sport. It's religion in terms of allowance for the hijab and allowance for long sleeves. Recently on Twitter, somebody messaged me saying she was stopped at a hockey game for wearing skins because she's Muslim. And the umpires had no guidelines of what that meant, even though it's the wrong colour skins for the uniform, but she had to wear skins for her religion. So what do you do there? It's in terms of sexuality. So at schools, do we have to create gendered uniforms when clearly I've never run a fitness test in a skort, nor will I ever go to the gym in a skort because it's frankly impractical. And my teammates and I, we all train in shorts, but play matches in skorts. So what I'm trying to get across here is that it's about listening to what people want, and it's about opening up the conversation to the young girls. So the first thing that I would say to people listening who want to understand more about this is just ask your young people. Ask your, I coach the under 12 girls at Marlow, and I just started asking them, what do you want to wear? I just said, you can wear whatever you want, but what would you like from the team? And they said they want the option of both skorts and shorts, because some of them want to wear skorts, some of them want to wear shorts, and it doesn't really matter. They look the same essentially, but it's whatever makes you feel comfortable. So yeah, I would really encourage just starting the conversation, just ask people. And then if you want to go and check out inclusivesportswear.com, please do.
That's brilliant. Really good, Tess. I think the conversations going forward are really, really interesting to follow this, because I think it's it will naturally gain momentum. So, our listeners, if there's anything that they would like to do, we'll cover it at the end of the pod. But get in touch with yourself, or get involved in conversations, organisations, etc., that can support it. But it's I think it like I said, it's common sense, but sometimes common sense doesn't prevail. It takes a long, hard push to get it in front of the right people and change policy that's been around for donkey's years, that has probably never even been looked at, or in this case doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it's often the fear of traditional change that hinders true evolution of policies. But when we understand it as simply an evolution, it's not a revolution. It's just evolving what needs to be evolved. And we first started playing in corsets and dresses, and women's sport has obviously had this massive rise. I believe it's a huge social change agent. And I'm really proud to be part of the Women's Sport Network, because we're seeing things and we're making things happen.
Great stuff. Awesome. You mentioned there as well that you're coaching, you say Marlow under 13s. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, this year, well, it's quite funny. I coached the Marlow girls and then the Marlow men's second team as well. So it's been a very different sort of, Wednesdays to Thursday nights are quite different. But I'm going to continue doing that. I love having that connection. But I'm going to, instead of taking one team, which was really great to get to know the girls really a lot more, and those with Grays hockey sticks, we made a little tribe and we had a little Grays hockey little club. They're fantastic. They all came in like jazzy shorts as well, which I just loved. I'm going to try and get to know the different age groups in Marlow Hockey Club on different evenings, just to sort of be a bit of a goal scoring masterclass, to try and ultimately get girls to feel like it's okay to be so-called aggressive and really put the ball in the back of the net, because that's something that we struggle with in hockey at the moment in our youngsters, because it's seen, you want to pass your friend to score is mostly what happens. And I'm like, yeah, but it's cool to score as well. So let's get some energy into that. So that's kind of what I bring.
And why have you ventured into the coaching journey?
Well, I started coaching just because I didn't want to follow my playing team around during my injury. Like, I wanted to support them when I could, but I wanted to have an engagement with hockey that wasn't me missing out, but me contributing. So a friend of mine approached me and asked me if I wanted to take over the men's second team head coach role. And I thought, really? A 22-year-old girl? And he was like, precisely. Anyway, I've had an absolute blast, met incredible people, and my favourite thing is on a sideline, on a weekend, going up to the umpire and introducing myself and saying, "Hi, I'm Tess. I'm the coach," and they're like, "Oh, really? Do they listen to you?" And I'm like, "They very much do listen to me."
But again, it's kind of like breaking down those barriers, isn't it? And that's, it's happened in other sports gradually over the years. But I think that's outstanding, really, really good. Already, like you say, 22, you're kind of giving something back, and role models are so important for young girls that you've mentioned there under 13 level. How do you think role models can be used more to engage children in physical activity and sport?
I think role models are so underestimated and underappreciated at a young age, because it's a lot of what role modeling is subconscious, and it's the whole, see it to be it, but it's really like having people who look like you, who sound like you, and who come from similar backgrounds doing things that you never thought that you would be able to do. I remember my role models at school were the people in my ladies hockey team, and in the first team when I started playing for them at age 14, women who had gone through university had come back, who were confident in themselves. Really, that's that sort of role model, not just the Dina Asher-Smith, the Jessica Ennis-Hill, who seem so untouchable, but the people who are near to you. So I think role models help young girls believe what's possible. So for me, like, that's why I'm so active on Instagram, because for girls and women to see somebody, I don't know, just trying to be authentic and trying to share, it has more of a subconscious effect than really any sort of, it's not really about fans or anything like that, but about what you can represent to those people.
And Tess, you've got, obviously you're playing, you're coaching, you're studying as well. You've got a lot going on. What does the future look like for you on and off the hockey field?
I have no idea. No, I'm joking. No, I want to help my team to win medals and to restore England hockey and GB hockey, to the top of the leaderboard. I think we have an incredible team with huge potential, and I love the idea of chasing something. Between you and me, I want to knock the Dutch off the top nut, the top place, and want to create a legacy with GB hockey that can inspire the future, because our team's motto, our vision is inspire the future, be the difference, create history. And that was invented for Rio, so that whether or not they medaled, they would have something that they were proud of, something bigger than hockey. And so when I think about what I'm trying to do with my studies, with my passions outside of hockey, they're really all intertwined to social change, and that's really where I see myself going. I don't know where that will lead me, whether that's I don't even know where it could lead me, but I want to be open enough to see where it could. But fundamentally, it starts with me feeling alive on the hockey pitch again. And as long as I'm loving what I'm doing, I think that's all I can really give. And everything else sort of comes with it.
And Tess, Commonwealth Games in the summer. So obviously, Birmingham-based lads and business, exciting times for the city, and I'm sure very exciting times if you were to be involved in the Commonwealth Games. Yeah,
so it's a busy summer for England hockey. We've got the World Cup on the 1st of July, and then obviously the Commonwealth Games in early August. And hopefully everything going well, that I will be able to compete at those and live out the dreams there and see you guys in Birmingham. That would be amazing. But yeah, we've got 3 weeks of intense test series in the Pro League over the next 3 weeks, and so just have to do my part there, and hope everything goes well.
I'm sure it will do. We've got 2 questions, Tess, that we'd like to round off podcasts with. So the first one is, what 3 go-to podcasts, books, or people would you recommend following for inspiration and personal development?
I would go The Guilty Feminist. Get lots of different viewpoints there. I would go Happy Place and the High Performance Podcast.
Yeah, the high performance one comes up very often, actually. You won't be surprised. We went to see him live in Birmingham, actually.
Oh,
Jake
wow.
and Damien a few months ago. It was very good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Very good.
Oh, wait, can I change? I'd like to add another one.
Oh, you want
the active code?
Yeah.
Well, I've got 2 to add. One's the active code, and the other one is the Game Changers podcast, which is run by Sue Anstis.
Brilliant. And the final question, Tess, is really a $1 million question. What one thing do we need to do to crack the active code and get more children more active more often?
Enact rigorous, inclusive sportswear policies.
There we go.
That's the most succinct answer we've ever had, I think.
It's my tagline, so... Yeah, just make people feel comfortable in whatever. I think ultimately it comes down, whether you're playing school, club, whatever, it's how do you want to feel when you play sport? How do you want others to when they play sport? And that is that they belong. And if wearing comfortable sportswear can help, then I think that's the ticket.
Yeah, and you've mentioned a few times about listening, and it comes up so often on the pod for various guests and various topics, and inevitably, I don't think we as a sector do enough listening and enough communicating with the market. So the target audience being children and young people in various communities around the country. We still have this assumption that this program or this uniform or this particular focus will have an impact and engage more children and young people in activity, or get them participating in sport, or win more medals, are kind of down the elite path. But we just need to really listen more to what young people want, especially where we are now in the kind of post-ish pandemic. I know we're kind of supposed to be still in it, but kind of post-pandemic, and really kind of understanding children and young people more and listening to them, and then implementing change. So.
Yeah, and I think on that, it's the difference between performance sport and participation sport. And I think at schools, they get confused at an early age that somebody's good at something, so they have to become performance in that. And then you start getting your under 10s to win you the championship, things like that, when at the early age, we've got to go back to what the purpose of sport is and building character. I distinctly remember one of my coaches asking me how the game was, and I just spoke about how I performed, and she said, no, how was the team? And very early on, I realized that you have to be a team player. If you and the team want to succeed, everybody has to be a team player. And fostering teams, ultimately that's what society is, a giant team. And if you learn how to manage a team, then you're set, really.
Absolutely. Right, thank you so much, Tess, for your time. It's been really enjoyable. It's been great to have you on the podcast, hear about your journey on and off the hockey field, and for someone so young, you should be very proud of your achievements. It's they're kind of sitting here scribbling notes down, and they're really, really impressive. And the fact that the impact you're having off the field is incredible, and I think it's definitely one to watch. I think you said with the various projects you've had going on and your studies and what you're doing in terms of social change and breaking down barriers for young girls in particular. I think we asked a question around what's the future, and I think it's always difficult to ask most people this question, but especially when you're in your early 20s. But I'm pretty confident that there'll be lots of open doors for you at whatever point you decide to end that playing career, which completely fingers crossed for you, and hope that you get into the World Cup squad and you compete, and we see you in Birmingham in the Commonwealth Games, and you get to kind of achieve that the next Olympics. So I think fingers crossed for you. Wish you all the very best, and just thank you so much for joining us. It's been a really enjoyable podcast.
No, Paul, Luke, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to chat, and definitely my most enjoyable conversation for a long time. So,
thanks, Tess. Thank you. Join us next time for the Active Code podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with us on Twitter @aspire_partners and find out more about us and the network at www.aspireactivepartnerships.co.uk.